Hello everyone, this is HuskyStarcraft here, back with some more StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm 1v1 action. Number one, we've been watching a lot of awesome games on my channel recently, but number two, we are also overcoming illness. I know I've said it a bunch of times, my cough is getting better, my sinus infection is all but gone, but if I do have to stop to drink some water or cough, just know it's okay. It's okay, I'm not enjoying it either, but we gotta do what we gotta do, and right now, what we got to do is introduce our players up here in the top right side. It is going to be Elfi. This is a player who I've cast on my channel several times. He does have the awesome team logo right there instead of having a floating one next to his Nexus. He also has a giant one right there, which is pretty sexy. And up in the top left side, it is going to be Apocalypse. Now, his last game that I cast on my channel was a lot of fun, and I honestly enjoyed it a lot. I would say it's like my favorite game this month, but I haven't cast that much because I've been bedridden for so much of the time. But either way, one thing I want to mention is if you guys did not watch my announcement video, which I don't really blame you, StarCraft 2 Arcade is now free. Now, again, I know it's kind of late to the party. Most of you probably already know that. But if you currently do not own StarCraft 2, you can actually go to the website and essentially download the full game, and you can play in everything except for the ladder and the single-player campaign. So anything in the arcade, custom games, all three races, being able to play with your friends, Imba League, everything that's in there is absolutely free. Highly recommend that you guys go and check it out. And if you have a computer that can run it and you also don't have the game already, there's really no reason not to that I can think of, unless you have no hard drive space, like this is 1987 or something. I don't know. But guy, can you remember how expensive hard drives used to be? It's actually kind of ridiculous that you can buy tiny flash drives that are like 64 gigabytes for like 1/20th the price that you used to pay for 1 gigabyte. Oh, technology. But anyways, the map is Habitation Station, which in all honesty, I don't want to speak to the balance of this map because I'm honestly not sure if it's the most balanced map ever or not. But I will say as a spectator and as a caster, I love watching games on this map. The main reason being the high yield expansion right here, very risque to take. It's like wearing lingerie at a football game. I don't know, it's very risque, and it's very fun to watch players attempt to take it. We'll see if that comes into effect this game, or if they decide to go for the expansions that are much safer. Of course, there's going to be the natural down there, and a third base over here is the most easiest to secure, but if you do want to take that risk, you can always go for the high yield. There is 6 mineral patches here, as is pretty standard for Blizzard high yield expansions, and right now we do have Elfi going to be going for the 2 probes on each geyser. This is not a mistake. This is very well calculated, and something that Protoss players are used to doing, and it just allows you, of course, to get a little extra minerals, but not really hurting your gas income by only having 1 geyser there. And it can kind of throw your opponent off a little bit if they scout up there. They may get a slight miscalculation on exactly how much gas you're mining. And right now, just still leaving those 2 probes in there completely, which means he is going to have actually a surprising amount of gas, even after making this mothership core. Now, I do want to mention, and I'm actually going to be making a video about this either before or after this video. I'm not sure which order they're going to get uploaded in, but Blizzard is contemplating a lot of nerfs, or changes, I should say, to Protoss, and some buffs or changes, I should say, to Terran. And I'll talk about that in the video pretty darn soon. But one of the things that they're thinking of changing is the vision on the mothership core, which I want to show you in just a second here. But this Reaper doing a surprising amount of damage, should be able to save. No, the force field there is going to kill off that Reaper, so was it worth it to drag all those probes off? I don't know. But either way, you do have the mothership core. You can see just how far the mothership core can see. I believe it's like the furthest vision range in the game, and that is something that Blizzard is kind of contemplating changing. The does it show vision on the let's see, life shield energy? I don't know that it shows the stats of vision, but it has a lot. I think it's like 14 or something, just absolutely ridiculous. And it's actually a great unit for scouting. It's one of those things where you wouldn't think to just scout with it, but you don't necessarily need to throw down a fancy time warp or go for the worker kills or try and delay, I don't know, anti-air or something. You don't have to do lots of damage. The scouting alone can tell you quite a bit. Unfortunately, he does not know about this base for sure, but I'm sure that he has a good inclination based on what he scouted with that mothership core. Now, we do have the Nexus on the way, actually completed for Elfi. It's the workers that he has on the way, and he is actually chrono boosting those out. This is something that he's got to be very careful in doing, though, as there could be an early timing attack out of Apocalypse. Now, right now, if Apocalypse does decide to go for any sort of timing attack, it most likely is going to be just Mass Marine here, because take a look at the barracks over here. He's got the one barracks there, but he's not making any Marauders out of it. He has the Reactor as well, and he's also working on Stim Pack. I don't think we've seen a single Marauder just yet, and also, we do see a factory on the way already. This could easily be for drops, and this is not really working anymore. It doesn't let me click on it. Whatever. I feel like every time I play this, the UI works a little bit differently. But either way, that factory could easily transition into going for drops. It could technically transition into like siege tanks or widow mines or something, but we haven't seen that all that often these days, as Terran players are opting to kind of stick with the standard Marine Marauder, eventually mixing in Ghosts or Vikings, depending on what the Protoss player is doing. And that's kind of how this matchup is overall, is Terran can get away with going for drops, Marine Marauder, and early harassment, things like that, but it's when the Protoss, if they're able to stabilize and prevent that from doing any amounts of damage, then that's when Terran really has to react to what he's seeing. Is it Colossus? You need lots of Vikings. Is it going to be High Templar? You need lots of Ghosts. Is it Archon? You need Ghosts. Is it a mix of both? Well, you better start getting the right unit composition. Otherwise, you are going to get blown up by Psystorm and Colossus. But right now, it is actually going to be, I assume, Psystorm here. I mean, this is an awfully quick Templar Archives, unless he's deciding to go for a Dark Templar rush, but I can't imagine a DT rush doing that much damage, especially since there's a missile turret right there. Not sure if there's one inside the main base. No, there's not, but could always have additional energy for scans. We do have the Observer right here. Does see the missile turret, so that's going to tell him, you know what, if you want to go for Dark Templar, it's going to have to be some sort of drop, but it is not Dark Templar, as he is going to go straight for the Psystorm. And honestly, going for DT and the Templar Archives at the same time, that would actually be just kind of silly. I can't really see what the point of that would be, because you aren't going to be able to get those close units in there. So it does look like he's just going to go straight for Psystorm, not going to go for the Archon. Sometimes you will see very early Archons here, as it is a extremely potent unit, but not today. Not today, says Elfi, but he is going to go for the quick Psystorm. He does have to watch out, though, because the Marines are going to be stimming and running up the ramp. The force field buying just barely enough time there by cutting this army in half. Photon Overcharge as well is going to rake in the kills. Now, that's something as Terran that it either really works or it really doesn't. The force field's right there, cutting the army in half. The army on the low ground is stemmed itself already down into the yellow, and that sentry right there, I believe he died, but he definitely served his purpose. Yes, the first two force fields weren't perfect, but at the same time, I think he ended up coming out ahead in that regard. Yeah, by 50 minerals, so getting one extra Marine kill in there. So not a major loss here for either player, but I will say this early of Psystorms is so risky. I mean, as a Protoss player, you're feeling good if you have Psystorm this early, just because you can do things like this, which is storm the army and scare it away, which I preemptively knew just because that was the one correct choice there. But the thing is that someone like Apocalypse has already shown his micro's pretty good, although right as I say that, his whole army gets stormed almost to death. And the Archon right there, we'll see, is he the one who threw down that storm? Yes, he is. So we'll see how many kills, if it combines the kills of those two High Templar he actually has. So 12 kills on that Archon, and that was an absolute money storm. Now, is that a game changer? Yeah, it definitely will change the game, but is it a game winner? It remains to be seen right now. We have a second bunker on the way for Apocalypse. You can see he's a little bit worried right now of the impending counterattack, just because that Psystorm did so much damage. But you also have to remember, getting Storm, getting Archons, High Templar, yada yada, that costs a lot of resources. And so he actually doesn't have that big of an army right now. Army supply is 33 to 31, and that's after storming that army like crazy. We'll see right now if Elfi is able to spot this. He is. The War Prism right there, spotting it right away. Although at the same time, Apocalypse realizes that a War Prism's headed his way. Now, I would say that Apocalypse spotting this is actually more important. Feedback there on the medevac. The other one narrowly escaping. It wouldn't have been killed if it did get fed-backed. Feedbacked. I don't know, that's always a weird word to try and use in the correct tenses. But either way, that one would not have died because it didn't have the full energy. So I want to say that Apocalypse realizing that storm drops are an imminent threat is more important than Elfi spotting those drops headed his way, because there's lots of ways, like High Templar back in the main base, to be able to deal with that, but it is a little bit more difficult for Terran to avoid the storm drops, although right now we could very well be seeing just that taking place. Does the engineering base spot this? No, it doesn't. Narrowly out of range. The SCV is not spotting it either, so a storm drop is a possibility. There is a chance of storms tune into the Weather Channel, and can you imagine if the Weather Channel was like covering different planets? That is a time and age that one limit. There's big storms right there. Does get a couple of SCVs, not as many as he would have liked. The SCV is clumping up quite heavily. Oh, if he would have went back, that would have been such a devastating storm. It would have been the perfect storm. But the War Prism, unfortunately, not going to be able to sneak its way back in there. Overall, though, Ghosts are on the way, and this is where, you, as Protoss, you actually have to start transitioning out of High Templar, because as soon as those Ghosts are on the field, they're going to start spawning with just enough energy to EMP and really kind of crush your dreams. Not only will they crush your High Templar, but your dreams as well. There's going to be a Photon Overcharge. Kind of baited that one out, I feel like. I don't think that he really anticipated going in there and actually killing that off, and so, if nothing else, he was able to bait out the Photon Overcharge. We do have the War Prism kind of moving in once again. Is it actually going to be able to side storm anything, though? That is the question. I don't really want to say the question of the hour, because StarCraft 2 is a very fast-paced game. Maybe it's the question of the minute. We'll see if he's actually able to side storm that down. But for now, Apocalypse does have kind of that center map control. He's got lots of Zealots. Elfi has lots of Zealots with the upgrades, so this army in the middle is going to have to watch out, as there is that upgrade advantage. 2-2 is on the way, though, for Apocalypse. Oh, another drop going to be heading on out. Does the War Prism spot this one once again? Maybe he's actually hunting for drops, and almost actually able to spot them there. Unfortunately, not able to feedback on them. Could very easily side storm once again, but I don't know if he wants to risk that just yet. Both these players looking to safely secure a third base. You can see right now that Apocalypse is able to establish his, and Elfi following suit as well, getting to his a little bit earlier than Apocalypse's. And once again, unloading these units at the high yield expansion. He's realizing that going for a main base drop may not actually be a viable option. And once again, we do have the War Prism moving out. The missile turrets, though, actually going to be done in time, which is actually not something you see a lot versus Protoss, just because it's a lot of money to potentially hold off a drop. Plus, if the War Prism's able to sneak in there anyway, he can actually just warp in unlimited units right here. We'll see if these SCVs have heard the fact that missiles are being fired up into the air, and they have, so they're going to transfer away. Now, if nothing else, this is indirectly doing damage by delaying the mining right now. We do have extended thermal lance nearly done here, and the Vikings should be able to kill us off before he can unload the High Templar. So a great play there by Apocalypse, adapting to the play of Elfi, and able to save his workers to boot. Although he is still delayed mining right here, not a whole lot of mining going on at this base. So if nothing else, that is some indirect damage. Not able to kill the workers themselves, but able to kill off the economy just a little bit. Resources income overall, though, is about the same for both these players, which actually tends to favor Protoss, because Terran, of course, has those mules they can mix in to try and supplement that. So this is a pretty good spot for Elfi to be in. He's at 182 supply. That's to the 179. Army supply overall is 121 to 105. A lot of those are Zealots, which are kind of a hit or miss unit, in that if you send way too many together in a big ball, they just get kited and taken out instantly. But at the same time, if you're able to get counterattacks, flanks, or just kind of swing around with them, or just a nice concave overall, they can easily pay for themselves. And right now, both players having a pretty good unit composition right here. That Marine, I'm pretty sure, took a Colossus shot to the face and survived. We should give him a t-shirt. I got shot by a Colossus and survived. It does look like one Ghost goes down, but the EMP is absolutely brutal here. Got to be careful with those charge lots. And again, they will easily get kited around. Oh, look, this army can swing in at the perfect angle. Might be able to get the sandwich attack here, but unfortunately for Elfi, unable to do so. He does have the High Templar in position. These are full energy High Templar as well. Now they are 0 energy High Templar from the EMPs, from the snipes, and Elfi's just got to be so careful. He's swinging in with these Zealots down here, but he's not able to engage at the exact same time. Those Ghosts have so much HP that they actually absorb so much damage. Sure, they got taken out, but it bought the remainder of the army enough time to turn around to hold this off, and it does look like Elfi right now is forced to retreat. He does have good supply and good income, and could easily go for a 4th base here. So, you know, he's definitely not down and out, but he is down right now, and having this base down here is going to be a huge benefit to him. Just needs to make sure to get those workers involved by mining in that location, and he does. You can tell that there are workers transferring on the way. 3 workers there, 3 workers there, plus he had a bunch rallied to the mineral patches as well. But they're making a trek all the way from the main base. Got to be a little bit before they get there. Overall income still pretty good for Elfi. He's just got to be able to land those storms, and he does have a couple Colossus in the back, but is that enough to actually make something happen here? He does have +3 armor, +2 attack, while Apocalypse is currently sitting at 2-2, but he has 3-3 nearly done here. So if that 3-3 is able to finish, that's going to help him hugely. But notice that in this game, Apocalypse not really able to do the multi-prong attacks that he wants to, because the pressure from Elfi, even though he's not running in directly, has been non-relenting. And a huge concave right here by Apocalypse. Where are the side storms? No High Templar in sight that actually have any energy, but the Archons don't care. They're going to be cleaning up house, and it does look like Elfi will be able to march in here, kill off a lot of the Vikings, but not before losing his own Colossus. Has to be careful with the blink, landing the Vikings here to help clean up, and Apocalypse is going to hold off. Where are the reinforcements from Elfi? Nowhere to be found. There's no proxy pylon established. So sure, he was able to do lots of damage, but he himself took lots of damage as well. Apocalypse manages to survive another day and also has the base down in the bottom left side with the planetary established. This is where the map starts to get very interesting because it's cut in half, but Apocalypse actually looking to secure a high yield expansion. There's that Dark Shrine. We were talking about it before about how it's not useful if you're already going for High Templar. Well, this is a whole different game now. This is a late game PvT. You got to do everything you can. You got to do counterattacks. You got to try and have them mix in the army when your opponent doesn't realize it. And we do have double upgrades on the way. +3 attack right now turns their fists into water cannons, but also +2 shields, which is a very interesting upgrade because sure, EMP does knock it down, but there's always a couple units that are not going to be affected by the EMP, and of course that upgrade is going to make them that much more strong. It does look like the War Prison here trying to buy a little bit of time so that the army down here can go to town. It does look like the Colossus actually in a pretty good spot with that +2 attack. Would have loved to have +3, but either way, it is still enough to start breaking this location, but not enough for it to crack as the reinforcements for Terran continuing to stream in. Elfi unable to fully commit, needs to make sure to keep this Colossus alive. Sure, they make a tech lab, but it's really about killing this army on the ground. Isn't going to be enough. Need to keep the Colossus alive if possible, and so far it is a forced retreat right now. Elfi has overextended once again. He does have these Colossus, though. He wants to kill off Ghosts if he can, and the Archon's moving on in, so kind of a back and forth. This is the ebb and flow of how PvT can often end up in the mid/late game. And I would say that we're still in the mid game, but late game is fastly approaching as we do have Colossus. We do have 3/3 upgrades for both these players. Now, is there an end game? Is there any tech switches right now that Apocalypse can go for? They're going to help with his unit composition, or does he just keep doing more of the same? Right now, it does look like, again, a lot of Marines being mixed in, which I just find to be interesting. I know I mentioned this a lot in the last game, and I can't take away from it because Apocalypse is able to make it work in these types of situations. What he's also making work are his SCVs over here at the high yield expansion. That's going to be a huge boost to his income. And we do have the planetary establishment right here. That could be a potential lot of dead SCVs right here. And if he's able to kill it off, this would be huge. But at the same time, he's got to keep the Colossus alive, and his army unable to get back in time, so he's forced to engage right now. Lots of kills on these Colossus, lots of EMPs on the Colossus as well. One is better than the other one if your name is Elfi, and unfortunately unable to kill that planetary and not able to break that location as Apocalypse is held. He's starting to turn this game into his favor now, as I would say Elfi not necessarily had an advantage, but was able to go toe-to-toe, but after losing that army, I'm not so sure. He doesn't have enough money to recoup his losses just yet. He is at 67 army supply to 87. And with the 3/2/3 upgrades, he's still in pretty good shape right there. He's just got to find a way to start landing those big splash damage shots. He needs a Psystorm, he needs a Colossus shots, and he needs to be able to deal with those Vikings as well. It's actually quite a tall order as we've seen Terran players start to diversify their unit composition a lot, not just sticking with Marine, Marauder, Medevac, but instead getting lots of Ghosts and lots of Vikings. It does look like right now, though, that Elfi going to be moving out on the bottom side. Keep in mind that this is an asymmetrical map, which I think is the correct word here, but the top is very different from the bottom. But either way, that does open up a counterattack to the bottom left side. At the same time, Apocalypse going, do I go for the base race or do I try and defend this location? Looks like his option is to defend the location. The Colossus right now, though, really want to go for the workers here if possible. Psystorms as well, pretty darn good. Gunning off the majority of those, and down goes the planetary. But did Elfi overextend? I think that he did. He's got to try and make the best of this as he can. But it looks like the storms right there are pretty good. Not nearly enough, though. I don't think there's any more storms left in this army. Elfi able to kill off the planetary, but unable to kill off the army itself. Needed to kill off all those Vikings as well, so he transitioned back into Colossus. But now he has to risk just losing them once they are done producing, as we do have double Colossus going to be on the way. Lots of Zealots are here. Overall resources income right now is actually favoring Elfi, as Apocalypse losing that base definitely kind of threw him off of his horse here, and he's got to be mined out of these mineral patches pretty soon. I mean, there's only 100 minerals on that patch. These over here are basically mined out. Main base, there's no one in sight. No, these are not little discs that shoot tons of minerals out. That means that you are mined out on this map. This Psystorm, though, has got to be pretty good. EMP and Snipe comes up, but not before 1 or 2 feedbacks land. But really, the Ghost count is pretty high. They are relatively low on energy, though. Time Warp on the ramp, though. Can the Ghost actually escape? Looks like so far that Psystorm doing more friendly damage than good, as Apocalypse has held the high ground. There are more Zealots warping on the high ground as well, though, to try and sandwich this army. It's not nearly enough, as the Medevac's proving to be just way too difficult to deal with. No big storms on this army means that Apocalypse, he is here and he is ready to win, as he doesn't have that base down the bottom left side, but he was able to kill off the base in the top right side at that high yield here. So Elfi, I mean, can he actually recover from this? He does have pretty good income, but at this point, considering the income is tied, that means he has to be cost effective here in this next engagement. Otherwise, he just straight out loses. He has several Archons here. He has one High Templar, maybe two. And does he have enough energy for Storm? Looks like yes, he does. But I mean, is it possible to even land those Storms with the amount of ghosts that we're currently seeing? I think the answer is no, but we are about to find out. EMPs on the Archons proving to be quite effective. They just melt away, and the High Templar unable to make anything happen. He does push that Archon forward, so it's going to warp in right on top of Sari, but only gets one shot off before going down. It looks like Apocalypse once again able to win a mid/late game versus Protoss, as Elfi just does not have the answers. No good Storms. No amount of Colossus can deal with this at this point, especially the amount of Vikings that are currently there. So overall, it does look like Apocalypse is going to claim gold in this game at least, as Elfi unable to stand up to the mighty army of Apocalypse. Apocalypse showing us some awesome games. I got to be completely honest here, as these series are all best of 5, but he is able to do very, very well in the games that at least I have cast so far. Again, it is from ASUS, as there are just so many good games released by them recently, and the Zealots able to die very quickly, which is not exactly what you want out of your Zealots, unless they're Bronze League Hero Zealots, and you don't really expect anything out of them. But either way, an awesome, awesome game here. I'm feeling a little bit better, guys. Starting to get my pep back. I'd say there's more pep in my step, but let's be honest, I don't ever walk anywhere. So anyways, hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you guys next time.